September the 6th, 2024. Guys, you're looking at satellite images over the U.S. What we got is the system that's been there, what's going into its third week, I don't really remember right now, that I've called the tropical system blessing. And we have very good temperatures right now. We're getting rain. We have been most of the night. It hasn't been real heavy very often, but it's been steady. You can maybe get a break in with some sprinkles to, get to the mailbox or something like that. But this is supposed to end. We've got a front coming down with cooler air in it. But what we're seeing is the rotation here. It's offshore. And I will move this after we go through this one. You'll see the one coming out of the Caribbean into the Yucatan area. And the models yesterday were showing that storm coming straight into Mexico down in this area. But now 3 of the models, including the Navy model, guys, has it coming very close to shore here, bouncing back off, and then coming ashore in Texas and strengthening before it gets there. And where it looks like it's going to hit on these models, the Galveston area south of there, or maybe 50 miles, would be in that northeast quadrant. And the problem with what we're seeing here now, this storm, if you remember, was supposed to sink down into near the Bay of Campeche, possibly come back. But I know you guys in South Louisiana you're probably sick of it. You got flood warnings out. Several counties around us are in flood watches and flood warnings now, just because it's been continuous. But one of the reasons I want to do the video is because it's not over. We may have another full week of this, guys, so prepare accordingly. Now, offshore, right here, this storm's picking up steam. It's starting to get some storms around it. And the models, including the Navy model, shows this thing coming up and coming in probably around Halifax, something like that. And some of them take it a little further out to the right, but again, about half of them, including the Navy model, has it coming ashore. And it definitely looks like it's got some high wind behind it and a good bit of moisture. Let's look at the infrared for a moment. By the way, we are going to zoom down over here in the Idaho and in the Oregon area because we're starting to see more and more smoke build up there. But first, we're going to go here and look at where the moisture is. And this is what we have. Looks like a storm moving off the west coast of Mexico. But look at this area of moisture here. Very reminiscent of the amount that would be in a small tropical system like this. But it's just staying right here and just continues putting the water. I know you guys in the low-lying areas are probably getting a little worried. Right now, Galveston, you're getting some dry. See that? Some dry air moving through there. And this system, guys, that you see coming this way, much cooler air. That's going to, again, bring us into almost no more 90-degree days here all the way up through October. And again, you can see the moistures on this right side of the storm moving up the east coast. And when we look at the models, you'll see what I'm talking about. But prepare for something as strong as at least a good tropical depression, maybe a tropical storm before it's over with, even though it will more than likely be called subtropical. It's not just smoke, guys. You've got a pretty good fire. This would be along the range here, pretty close to central Oregon. You can see where the smoke's really thick right there. It's mixed, and there's fires burning right through there. See, there's 1, 2, 3 that I can tell under the cloud cover there and here. Also, look right here into the ranges, right in here into Idaho. Looks like some of that is better than what we saw the first couple of days. Right now, this is starting to spread. You guys need moisture really bad. Not that much is coming in right now, so your firefighters, I hope they're really paying attention to it. I imagine they are and working overtime. Now, this looks all the way over to Africa, but right here in the Caribbean, this section of storms, and it's kind of building up behind it. You could have some more following. They're starting to head north and northeast towards the Gulf of Mexico. The system, this is the one we're looking at, and it appears to be pulling a little more moisture in from the North Atlantic. So you guys in this area, again, Halifax, somewhere in that section, pay attention to this just because of the winds and the flooding rain. Africa, there's not much happening back in here right now, and it looks like we're getting into the end of October instead of the beginning of September. Now, this is a 7-day forecast. They don't have much modeling on this storm or this past that point. But the one that is just on the edge of the Yucatan, you could see it there with the storms, is going to cross here. It's giving a 40% chance. And notice that cone now does not go straight into Mexico. It starts to turn north here because, as you'll see in the models, the high pressure is going to break right over the Louisiana, Texas area and pull that storm that way if all of their modeling holds up. But it's saying this tropical wave, it's located over Belize and the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. The wave is forecast to move into the Bay of Campeche on Saturday, where it could then begin to interact with a frontal boundary. A tropical depression could form during the early or middle part of next week, while the system moves slowly northwestward over the southwestern Gulf. This storm, 10% chance of development. You can see some rotation in there, but it's mighty dry. We'll keep an eye on that one. Now, we'll first take a look at the U.S. Navy model. You'll see what I was talking about here. The storm comes in, bounces off Mexico, comes up through basically the Sabine River section of Louisiana, Texas coast. But notice it gets darker blue right there before it comes ashore. That's showing it's strengthening. And why is it going to do it now? Notice your yellow area opens up right here. That's your, and it takes advantage of that. The orange kind of keeps it tampered down. That's your high pressure. Get into the yellow. It's kind of a balance between the two almost. But that opening is that cold air, guys, that's coming in, it's bringing us this early fall. And it's going to take advantage of it. So I hate to say it, Texas and Louisiana and South Louisiana, that it's not over as far as the range. You got to deal with what we got out there now. Then this is coming to notice behind it. The low pressure stays in place. You're gonna, if anything else comes in here, notice there's a system floating in this area. Watch at the end. Right there, if it follows this high pressure line and strengthens, it looks kind of dry now, then it would be headed towards the Florida or Georgia area. But this one's going to come again right up the Sabine River. Let's watch. It hits Mexico there. Stop it here. That's on September the 12th. Let me back it up one time. There's the 11th coming down. Mexico, you're under the gun by the 10th. Let me go back. 9th, it's right offshore. We probably already start seeing some rain. And as we go back forward, bounces off, re-strengthens right there on the 12th. Comes through, really stopping it there. It looks like the Houston area to the Sabine River would be in the worst part of the storm, the northeast quadrant. Now, the global forecast system, it goes out just a little further in time, but it's basically showing the system that's off the coast now and this one merging. This one's coming down, the other one's coming through. Very similar path that we saw with the Navy model, except this one appears to stay a little further shore, which will not give it the ability to strengthen beyond the storm it is. Right there, you're kind of coming ashore. It just doesn't put a footprint. Maybe half of this center of circulation gets back off. We know that's going to change. And this one does go further out in time, but the further out it goes with any model, it becomes less accurate. But it does show the system forming right here over the Bahamas, almost right at the end of this pattern. Look at the moisture forms and goes up the coast. Again, that's far out date. We'll watch that. Right now we're kind of concentrated, guys, on the northern Gulf Coast, Texas, and Mexico. First, you got to come through the Yucatan, and that more than likely will happen overnight tonight. But guys, we're watching this. You watch it. I just want to step in here, mainly because of the excessive rain we're going to see in the south. Still, it's better than burning up, all the trees burning up like they did last year. The pine beetles were unbelievable because of that drought and the heat. So I'm still counting my blessings. I hope no one loses their home to the floods, especially in the low-lying areas. And just be aware, guys, in Texas, these things can throw tornadoes up. You know they can. They can knock down power. And Galveston and Houston, you've been pretty susceptible to flooding, it looks like, in the last few storms. especially the first one of the season that really came into South Texas. It just threw so much moisture into your area. But with all this rain now going on and off for 2.5 or so weeks, the ground is saturated. We're pretty saturated here too. I'm still not complaining, but I'm not under the gun like you are. We're a little lighter. We're a little further inland now. But it's going to get wet. Again, if you got some boats, or maybe if you're in that area, you're concerned about it, start watching the local New Orleans, Baton Rouge weather stations. See what they're predicting as far as flash flooding, when and where, and what and how high. That will give you an idea if you maybe want to locate north up into Macomb, Mississippi, or somewhere like that, Hattiesburg, or maybe north of Baton Rouge. But again, we're going to be watching it, guys. Just pay attention. I think the flooding will be the main problem, and possibly some power outages and maybe an occasional tornado before all is said and done. So heads up, be safe.